Hello and welcome to Betfred's Football Show. Just 2 rounds of Premier League action and then it's the World Cup. Micky Gray alongside me, and this time next week we'll know the England squad. There's plenty of question marks over the fitness of quite a few players, unfortunately, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? I think certainly people like Chilwell and Reece James, they're going to be an absolutely huge miss to the squad. Whether they can get themselves fit enough for that in time is certainly down to Gareth and how much the players really want to, but yeah, it's bad timing.
So the squad comes out on Thursday, reaction to that. But let's turn our attention to this weekend's Premier League. Here's Paul with how the table looks and the fixtures.
Well, it's another big weekend, of course, in the Premiership, and Arsenal top of the moment with 31 points, but not an easy game for those this side this weekend. They've got to take on Chelsea, of course. The two big games are Chelsea against Arsenal and Tottenham, who take on Liverpool. If we're looking at the table here, the Arsenal with 31 points, Man City sitting there cruising with 29 points, and further down the table here, Chelsea currently with 21 points. If you look at Palace, well, they're mid-table, 10th at the moment, with 16 points, and it's a big weekend at the bottom of the table as well, because you can see Aston Villa, who of course have got the new manager now, they've got the 12 points in the 13 games and languishing at the bottom here. Forest are playing, a little bit better at the moment. They've got 9 points from their 12 games, and Wolves just above them with a point extra with 10 points in the bag. As far as the fixtures are concerned, we'll have a look at the fixtures here. I mentioned, of course, Chelsea, Arsenal. If you're looking at the betting, well, Chelsea at the moment, this could change, of course, 6-4 favourites. Arsenal 13-8. It's 9-4 the draw. A few other games, Man City, bankers aren't they? But they're 1-10 to win their match against Fulham. And Everton are 5-4 against Leicester with 2-1. Once again, up in a little bit better now. Got into a bit of a better stride. And then 9-4 for the draw. Newcastle, well, may say they're playing well, aren't they? 10-11. A few people said in the office today they're the bankers of the weekend to beat Southampton. I'm not so sure. So looking forward to another busy weekend in the Premiership. Two big games, Chelsea against the Arsenal and Tottenham taking on out-of-form Liverpool.
Out of form Liverpool. We'll talk about those Liverpool later on, but let's start at Ellen Road. No early kick-off, so we'll start with the 3 o'clock kick-offs on Saturday. Leeds versus Bournemouth, and they beat out of form Liverpool, of course, Leeds. That was a big win for Leeds. Had gone, 8 without a win, and then the win at Anfield.
It was massive. I was there. The atmosphere was incredible. You felt like something was going to happen on the night. What a game of football. I mean, it had mistakes in it, don't get me wrong, but Saturday night, under the lights, it was a special moment. And obviously Liverpool, I mean, their home record mark is incredible, certainly before that game. So what a win for Leeds United that was. And Bournemouth have just slipped up with late, haven't they? I mean, Gary O'Neill's done a really good job there. He's tried to organise them, but I just think this might be a little step too far for them with that confidence that Leeds have got from that Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Gary O'Neill. He went on a 6-game unbeaten run, lost the last 3. Right, huge win for Leeds at Anfield. Now, obviously, they're in 15th, just 12 points. They've got to win this game, haven't they? They've got to build on that now.
They have to, yeah, and there's no point in beating Liverpool if you're not going to back it up. And that's what the manager's got to say to them. I think, the energy from Jesse March and his players was there for everybody to see. But I think their home supporters want to see a performance. They've been awful at home, and, you've got to try and use those supporters as the 12th man. And I think they'll do it against Bournemouth. I think it's going to be a tight game because Bournemouth are organised. They're hard to break down. They can score goals if given opportunities, but I just think that dent after that performance against Tottenham in the second half will still be hurting them.
We'll talk about Liverpool in detail later. Huge game away at Spurs. But give us your first prediction then for Leeds versus Bournemouth.
Well, I said tight game, and I think it really will be a tight game. I've gone for Leeds to win this one 1-0.
1-0 Leeds, not won at home since that brilliant victory against Chelsea. They've gone 8 games without a win as well until that fantastic win at Anfield on Saturday night. Right, let's stay with the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. And let's go to Man City versus Fulham. Now, you've just come from Pep Guardiola's press conference, and it looks like Haaland could be involved in some way.
Yes, he was hoping or banking on Haaland doing well in training. I think it was an afternoon training session, so I think he's kind of going to look at that. But he wants him back in that starting 11, albeit they won in midweek without him, and they still look a real top quality side without Haaland. But he's a special talent, isn't he, Mark? I mean, what is it, 17 league goals this season? He's just he's a freak of nature, the guy, and I think Pep wants to get him out there. He's a player that's not going to be going to the World Cup, so he can use him as much as he possibly can. He did say he had to nurture him at times because of his injuries. But look, if he's 70% fit, I still think you take a risk on him. And City at the moment, their home form, what is it, 3 goals they've scored on more in the last 10 home league games.
It's phenomenal,
It's just
isn't it?
incredible. Yeah, and he was asked about that as well. Certain people asked him that in his press conference. He just said, look, it's in the past. I don't care about that anymore. He's all about the future, Pep, and I think he's enjoying what he's seeing from his City side this season. I think we all are. And we have done since he came to the Premier League. They're just fantastic to watch. They've taken the Premier League to another level, and Fulham are going to give them a game, no doubt about it. They're playing some really good football. He got asked about Mitrovic, the physicality, so he said, I'll have to pick and choose the 2 centre-halves, so I'm going to play up against Mitrovic. But they're going to cause them problems, but you can't look away from Man City winning this one.
And can you look away from Man City winning the league?
No, absolutely not. Albeit Arsenal are chasing them, haven't they? I mean, they're top. It's crazy to say that, but what a start to the season for them. But I think come the end of the season, it's going to be Man City's. They're just too strong, and I think, when you get to the final yards, let's say, Arsenal haven't been there for a long, long time. City know how to do it, and I can't see anybody past them.
Prediction for Man City Fulham, then?
I've gone 2-0. I think Man City will win this one.
Only 2-0?
Yeah. It's got to come to an end sometime, scoring 3 or more goals at home. But I think it's going to be convincing for Man City. But Fulham will cause them problems, but got to go with the home side.
Just a quick word on Kevin De Bruyne as well before we move on. He's been involved in 29 goals this calendar year, 13 goals and 16 assists. Of course, he was the winner last weekend as well. How good is Kevin De Bruyne?
Well, there's always going to be debates about this, Mark, and different eras and stuff. But I believe he's the best midfield player we've ever seen in the Premier League. I really do. He's just got everything. There's certain players as you go through the years. Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, Frank Lampard are probably 3 that get talked about more than many. But Kevin De Bruyne is he's just incredible. He's an incredible player, and that's why I say he's the best we've ever seen. The
best we've ever seen?
Yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, you could talk about weaknesses in players at certain times, but he just hasn't got one. And I just think he's an incredible player. I mean, you talk there about the assists and goals that he gets. There's no simple tap-ins or there's no simple assist for Kevin De Bruyne. They're all special, whether it's in the Premier League or whether it's in Europe. I mean, he sees things that other people don't see. And I think that's why he's just a standout performer in that midfield position. I mean, he's so good.
He must love playing with Haaland as well.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, but then you can't just pinpoint him because he's playing with Haaland, because that's why he's the best midfield player. He's done it for years. He's done it without Haaland.
Did it last weekend without Haaland?
Absolutely, yeah. So, no doubt. I mean, he must be loving it. I mean, every time he looks up, you've got a centre forward like that scoring goals. So, yeah, of course, it's special for him, but what a player.
5-1 to score the first goal is De Bruyne, 5-4 to score any time. Right, staying with the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. We had that brilliant win over Liverpool and then got battered by Arsenal.
It's just one of those seasons, isn't it? I think it's going to be a really difficult one for Steve Cooper. Making that many changes, and I still don't think he knows probably what his best 11 is. And that's very frustrating for him. When you talk about the performance against Liverpool, it's a battling performance. Can they do that every single week? They look organised at times in games, but then you see what Arsenal go and do to them. And I think that's the type of season it's going to be. He's got to look at the sides that are around him, Steve, and he's got to think to himself, as many points as we possibly can, and let's try and finish 4th from bottom. But honestly, I don't think they can do it. I really don't. I've seen Nottingham Forest, on a couple of occasions this season, and they flatter to deceive. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. I know they've made signings, but I just think it's really hard. I mean, Brennan Johnson, Dennis from Watford, they're not prolific goal scorers, and I think that's going to be their problem come the end of the season, and I think it'll be their problem in this game against Brentford.
I mean, Brentford have only won 1 game more, yet Brentford are in 11th on 15 points and Forest the bottom on 9 points.
But I think what more so we've been talking about Brentford and the style of football and what they bring to the Premier League. They haven't just came into the Premier League over the last couple of seasons to make up the numbers. they actually compete. And I think when you look at Ivan Toney up front, everybody seems to be talking about him. He's had a brilliant start to the season. Could he be going on the plane to Qatar with England? That's another debate for maybe another day. But I just think he's probably the standout in this game, and that's what you need.
Well, he's suspended, unfortunately, for Brentford, Ivan Toney, this week. But he's had a brilliant season. And like you say, I think he's got a great chance of being in that England squad, which we'll find out on Thursday. Come on, give us a prediction then for Nottingham Forest, Brentford.
Yeah, well, I've gone for the away side. I think both sides will score, but I think Brentford are going to win this one 2-1.
2-1 Brentford. Right, Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brighton Hove Albion. What a win for Brighton last weekend over Chelsea. But this Wolves side, what is it? Just one win in 7 Premier League?
Yeah, it's not enough.
Need a manager quick.
Well, they do, Mark. Yeah, and I think you can't criticise Steve Davis, who's taken over for the last couple of games. I mean, he's been put in that place. I think Wolves should have had somebody in place to walk through the door. It looks like they're getting a little bit closer, but then the players are going to be leaving to go to the World Cup, so he's not going to see them for a month. So it's really bizarre, to be honest with you, and I think the goals seem to be coming more from midfield than they are from the centre forwards. They brought in Costa. It's not really worked out for him. Gets himself sent off. I think we were probably expecting that. But they've got to turn the season around. They've got to do it very quickly. They play nice football, but not seeing out games. And Brighton, as you mentioned there before, I mean, what a performance against Chelsea. De Zerbi needed it. His first win as Brighton manager as well, so it's obviously been frustrating for him. But the football that they're playing, Trossard is absolutely flying for them. They're a good outfit.
Yeah, Trossard scores 7, which is more than the Wolves team in total. They've only scored 6. He's 6-1 to get the first goal, 11-4 to score any time. So, prediction then, Wolves versus Brighton.
Yeah, I'm going for the away side again. I think Brighton can certainly get this win against Wolves, and I think it's going to be another struggle weekend for Wolves.
What score?
1-0.
1-0 Brighton. Right, the 5:30 kickoff is Everton versus Leicester. And after that awful start, Leicester have just conceded 1 goal in their last 4 Premier League matches. How do we see this one?
I think this is going to be an entertaining game. I really do. I think defensively, Everton look more solid now with Tarkowski back there as well. They've certainly got a little bit of confidence moving forward after that Fulham performance, which wasn't great. It wasn't a brilliant spectacle, but I think with Calvert-Lewin, more minutes under his belt, certainly wanting to score more goals before the Qatar or the final squad is announced, because I think he wants to be a part of that, no doubt. And Leicester started to entertain again, albeit the performance against Man City, they didn't really start the game until the last 20 minutes. But I think Brendan will be pleased of that. But I certainly see goals in this game from both sides.
2 managers under a hell of a lot of pressure about 6 weeks ago, and the pressure off both of them now a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we all thought it was going to be a struggle for Everton this season. Didn't really make too many signings. And when they had certain injuries to certain players, I think we all looked and thought they're going to be at the bottom of the table. But Frank's done a decent job. And you can see when he's in front of camera now, you can see the confidence in him. I think he's enjoying what he's seeing from his players. And as for Brendan, I mean, we were all surprised that he's still actually there. It looked like the writing was on the wall, but he's turned it round.
They need to pull away, though. I mean, they're still 18th.
Yeah, but I think they've got the quality to get away from that, Mark. I really do. I mean, with Jamie Vardy, I know he doesn't play every single week now, but there's always a goal in Vardy. Tielemans in midfield, and Maddison looks as if he's having a really good season as well. And they like entertaining. They're a good side. Sometimes they don't keep clean sheets, but they'll certainly score goals.
What score then for
I've
Everton?
gone for
Leicester?
a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to be an entertaining football match.
That's live at 5:30 on Saturday night. Talk about entertainment. Well, the Championship is superb. Here's Paul with a roundup in the Championship.
A couple of big games in the Championship this weekend as well, of course. Burnley, top of the table with 38 points, taking on Sheffield United, who are currently in third at 32 points. And of course, couple of weeks' time, got to look forward to the top 2 meeting, Burnley against Blackburn, which is always an exciting game. Bit of a local derby as well. Who's going to take that one? I looked at the stats there, I was amazed. Blackburn played 19 games, haven't had a draw yet. And I can't see them drawing at the weekend, of course, because they're taking on lowly Huddersfield Town. It's going to be very, very hard for that side, of course. They've been disappointing all year after a very good year last year. But Burnley playing well, top of the table with 38 points. QPR in a good position with 31 points. And Norwich are sitting there pretty nicely at the minute with 29 points alongside Watford as well. It's going to be exciting finish to the Championship, and there's plenty of teams still in it. How do we bet That's what we're looking at. Well, at the minute, what Burnley in there is the 6-5 favourites. They're top of the table. Sheffield United, they could do with the 3 points this weekend to close the gap on Burnley. They're in there at 3-1. And further down here, what about Blackburn? What are they? 20-1 Blackburn. They could keep going. As I say, they've got some good strikers. We all know about those and how they can get the ball in the back net. Brereton Diaz, he's been a revelation, of course, and they lost a couple of the good players, didn't they, over the last couple of years. Adam Armstrong, of course, going to the Premiership. Let's have a look at the Championship matches. Reading take on Preston. Reading are 5-4 favourites against Preston. And the big one, Sheffield United, they're 11-8 against Burnley, or 7-4, the top of the table, and it's 2-1 the draw. And Blackburn, that 4-6. I don't know about you, but it looks a bit of a steal to me. Taking on Huddersfield over 130, and it's 5-2 the draw. And the Borough, they could do the points as well. They're 5-6 taking on Bristol City. Other matches, QPR take on West Brom. That should be a good game. QPR, we've got them favourites at the moment at 11-8. West Brom 7-4, and it's 2-1 the draw. And what about Sunderland? Sunderland are doing well. They're 6-5, fine little bit of form again, of course. Got that victory against Huddersfield midweek. 6-5 Sunderland. Cardiff are 2-1, and it's 21-10 the draw. But the big game, of course, Sheffield United taking on Burnley this weekend in the Championship.
Yeah, the big game is definitely at Sheffield United, Burnley. Sunderland, how are they doing?
They're doing okay. Obviously, Ross Stewart's been out for the last 4 or 5 games, Mark, so they've found it really difficult with not having a centre forward. But that big win against Huddersfield in midweek, and they've just got to try and get the players fit. And I think they're good for a top half finish this season. I think that's what's expected. And
you've said you've seen Burnley a few times this season, and you fancy them to go back up.
Don't see anybody better. They're the most consistent side in the Championship. The football that they play is entertaining. What a turnaround, and what a brilliant job Vincent Kompany's doing.
Let's turn our attention to the Sunday matches in the Premier League. We've got a midday kick-off. Chelsea-Arsenal live on BT Sport. Chelsea have lost 3 of their last 4 league games against Arsenal. Are Arsenal getting the credit they deserve? We mentioned it early on. We all think City are going to win the league. Arsenal are 2 points clear.
They deserve the credit. Every single time I've seen them play, I've been really impressed with them. I think he's made some really good signings. Obviously, the one that springs off the page is Jesus, who hasn't been getting goals of late, Mark. But I mean, his performances haven't dipped. And you look at their forward line. If they can keep them all fit, I know Saka's just had a little bit of a problem, hasn't he? But I think he's going to be okay. But Martinelli looks a proper player now. They've got a little bit of steel in midfield, and defensively, they look really sure, really tight. And I think that's so impressive from Arteta that he's kind of been able to put that team together. And they're the real deal, no doubt about it.
And the way Newcastle are playing, and the form Manchester United are showing as well, this is a big game for Chelsea on the back of that defeat against Brighton, isn't it?
Massive game. I mean, we're all kind of predicting who's going to finish in the top 4 at the end of the season. And I think probably of all the teams at the top at the moment, you may be looking at Chelsea at the moment, thinking that they're going to be the ones that might drop out of that top 4 because it's so competitive. And, I've seen the system changes. Raheem Sterling playing as a left wing back. He's playing Perisic on the right hand side, and it's just really been a struggle for Chelsea and Graham Potter to try and organise a team and get the goals. I think this is going to be a hard game for them against Arsenal. It's seen that way in the past, and I think this is not going to be any different.
Prediction?
I'm going to go for the away side to win. I think Arsenal are good.
What score?
I've gone 2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. Top of the table, Arsenal as well. Right then. The live game at 2 o'clock, because there is a few games at 2 o'clock, is Southampton versus Newcastle. Southampton's mini 3-match revival came to an end with that 1-0 defeat against Crystal Palace last weekend. And Newcastle are playing very, very well. Pep Guardiola has stated the Magpies are a contender with 5 wins from their last 6 Premier League games. And I believe he's mentioned Newcastle again in his press conference today.
Yeah, he has. And he said that they're going to be there till the end of the season. If you think about it, he's right, because they haven't got any European distractions. You're going to have this little mini break as well, which is going to obviously refresh the players. Not all of them will be going to the World Cup. And I think Eddie Howe, he deserves a lot of credit for the players that he's brought into the club, the way that they've got things going at Newcastle. The atmosphere at the stadium is just absolutely electric every single time you go there. And they've got momentum and they've got confidence. And when you've got people like Callum Wilson getting the goals and Almiron looks like a completely different player. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic.
And Sam Maximum back?
Well, he's back, and I just wonder how he's going to get back into that starting 11 mark. It's surprising to say that because he's such a talented player, but they're working their socks off, and what an addition he's going to be. He's only going to make Newcastle better.
Come on then, prediction.
I've gone Newcastle to win this one. I think it's going to be a hard one for Southampton. I've gone for the away side to win 2-1.
Newcastle 2-1. Right, let's stay with the 2 o'clock kickoffs. I think this is very interesting because we've got a new manager in charge at Aston Villa, of course. Very familiar one, Enuma Emre. Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Now, Aston Villa's record is awful against Manchester United. They're lost, in fact, Aston Villa have not beaten Manchester United in 23 Premier League home matches. You've got to go back to... It's August 1995 when they won 3-1, and that famous comment, wasn't it, from Alan Hansen, you can't win anything with kids. Now, that is a hell of a run, isn't it?
It's incredible, isn't it? And you think, Aston Villa, they haven't been that bad for that many years. I think it's just a side that Man United over the years have obviously loved playing against. And you talk about the change in manager there as well, Mark. Unai Emery coming in, we know he's an organiser. But I just wonder how much time he's had with the players and, can he find the best 11? How is he going to try and stop Manchester United, who are absolutely flying at the moment, full of confidence? It doesn't really matter what 11 Ten Hag seems to put out there. They're coming up with the goods. Albeit, they won midweek, but they didn't finish top of the group, so they're going to have to play a Champions League side. In the,
it didn't really feel like a win, did it, in many respects?
No, it was just unfortunate for them, but I don't think that's going to dampen the confidence with the players. He's certainly getting a tune out of them. I think the signings of Casemiro and Martinez have just been absolutely fantastic, let's be honest with you. I mean, the two top quality players. And again, I just see Man United winning this game. I think it's too early for Emery at Aston Villa. I don't think he's had enough time to work with his players. So I think Man United continue on their good form.
Where are Man United at? I know you've seen them quite a lot in your TalkSport capacity. They've not lost since that defeat against City 6-3 on the 2nd of October. Just conceded once in their last 7. Where are Man United at now, do you think?
Well, I don't think they're title contenders. I think come the end of the season, I think they'll fall short of Manchester City. I just wonder whether they're good enough to maybe challenge Arsenal in that second spot, because that's the way it looks at the moment. But I certainly see Man United in the form that I've seen of them over the last month and a half to finish in that top 4 and get Champions League
and
football.
That's job done, isn't it, for Ten Hag in his first season?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I think that's probably his ambition at the beginning of the season. I think we all looked at maybe Manchester City and Liverpool at the beginning of the season thinking the title's going to be between those two. I think Liverpool have obviously got work to do to get themselves into that top 4. But from what I've seen so far over the last month and a half, very impressive.
Give us a prediction then.
I'm going to go Man United to win this one 2-0. I think that
2-0.
form of playing against Aston Villa is going to continue.
2-0 Manchester United. That's a hell of a run, isn't it? Villa not beaten Manchester United at home since 1995 when they won 3-1. That's 23 matches. Right then, West Ham versus Palace. I thought West Ham were unlucky in the end at Old Trafford, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Second half, again, a game I was at, I thought they played really well. I mean, think about the chances that Jarrod Bowen missed near the end of the game. It was incredible. But albeit for David De Gea and the saves he had to make, the one from Declan Rice at the end was just what David De Gea does. World-class goalkeeper. He's obviously on form at the moment. So I wouldn't write West Ham off. I think they're going to keep climbing the table. I really do. But Crystal Palace have got their threats themselves up front. Eze, Zaha, they've got talented players. But I think, obviously a London derby, but I'm going to go for West Ham to win this one 2-1.
2-1 West Ham. And then we move on to the live game at 4:30, the game of the weekend. Tottenham Hotspur versus Liverpool. Spurs are winless in their last 9 Premier League games against Liverpool, drawing 3, losing 6. The last time we beat Liverpool in the Premier League, October 2017, a 4-1 win. It was 2-2 last season at Spurs. And, well, it's a cliche, but... a game of 2 halves of Spurs at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. You could probably say the same thing about Liverpool, to be honest with you. I mean, they're not coming out of the traps as well as I think Jurgen Klopp expected them to. Personnel change, they've obviously got a lot of injuries as well. But I think that game against Napoli and that win has probably spurred them on a little bit. They needed that for confidence, certainly after that Leeds performance and then the Nottingham Forest one as well. But I do see Liverpool getting back to winning ways in the Premier League against Tottenham. Might upset a few people, that, but I'm just not convinced with Conte, albeit they've had a brilliant start to the season. They're not kind of impressing as many people as I think that he was expected to when he walked through the door because of the style of football. But they keep getting the job done, they keep winning matches, but I see Liverpool winning this one.
Where are Liverpool at then? Because they beat City and we all think, oh, they're back. And they go and lose to Forest. Then they lose to Leeds at home last weekend. I mean, what is it? It's a big gap, isn't it? It's 15 points between Arsenal and Liverpool now.
It's too big for Liverpool and Arsenal. It shouldn't be that way, should it? So there's certainly something wrong at the club. I mean, it's a head-scratcher, isn't it? Because, you know, you can point at players, yes, they're a year older, if you think about Henderson and James Milner, but they seem to be the go-to players.
Definitely no Milner this weekend.
Yeah, and how much are they missing Mane after he's left the club? I think he kind of stretched the pitch. They've obviously got Nunes who's walked through the door. I think we all expected him to maybe even be around about double figures in goals this season, but it hasn't happened for him. They obviously got the sending off early on in the season. So yeah, I think Jurgen's obviously trying to find a system that works for his team at the moment. Look, they'll get it right. They're too good not to. I think about some of the players that they've still got at the club. And I do think they will be challenging to get in that top four come the end of the season. But these are the games that they've got to win. They have to go to Tottenham. They've got to win this match. I think they're going to do it, actually. But, you know, is it a good or a bad time for this World Cup to come around for Liverpool right now? I think it's probably a good time.
Regroup.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to do that. And then you've got the January window where they can maybe bring in one, maybe two midfield players, because that's certainly what they need at the minute. But their squad's still good enough to be challenging up there.
And what score do you think then?
I've gone Liverpool to win this one 2-0. I know they've had tight games over the years, but I see the away side winning.
And I tell you what, if we think City are going to win the league, I know Arsenal are top, I tell you, the battle for the top four is just going to be immense, isn't it? Arsenal, Spurs, Newcastle, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool are off the pace at the moment.
Well, we've been talking about for many years, haven't we? It used to be the big four, then it was the big six. I think you've got to put Newcastle in that bracket now as the big seven. I mean, they've got a potload of money there if they want to go and bring players in January. I know they've been very astute and clever with what they've done so far. But as I said before, no distractions of Europe. You have to put them in the conversation.
And that's from a Sunderland man.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Right, I'm just going to recap Micky's selections then. Right, Saturday's gone Leeds 1, Bournemouth 0, Man City 2, Fulham 0, Forest 1, Brentford 2. He's gone Wolves 0, Brighton 1, Everton, Leicester 2 all draw. On Sunday he's gone Arsenal to win 2-1 at Chelsea, Manchester United to continue that amazing run at Villa Park, winning 2-0. He's gone 2-1 Newcastle at Southampton, 2-1 West Ham over Crystal Palace, and finally Tottenham 0, Liverpool 2. Right, Mickey, thanks very much for coming in. I've enjoyed your company. And please, if you're having a bet this weekend, keep it fun, gamble responsibly. See you next week.